Welcome back to another episode of the Broker to Broker Real Estate Podcast. I'm excited that you're here because today we're going to be talking about a topic on how to leverage your brokerage to create additional revenue streams. And I've got somebody all the way from Atlanta, Georgia with First Class Real Estate, Charles Benton, that's going to be joining us. So stick around as we cue up the music and get this thing going. Welcome to the Broker to Broker Real Estate Podcast, where we have real, raw conversations with industry leaders, finding out how to connect, support, lead, and ultimately make an impact and drive results in the lives of your agents. I'm your host, Nathan Daniel, and welcome to the show. All right, welcome to the show, Charles Benton with First Class Real Estate, man. Welcome.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited that you're here. So to kick everything off, so everybody knows who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Like you mentioned, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. First Class Real Estate. I've been in the industry for 15 years. Kind of started in 2006. I like to joke around because I was in the Navy for 6 years on a submarine, and got off the submarine, walked off, and a month later I was showing houses. So it just stuck. So, but been in Dallas for a while, doing real estate in Atlanta, and over the past couple of years, we've expanded, and First Class is a franchise. So I've kind of got into the franchising side of it, but it's been a run, and real estate is always fun.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, we were having a little bit of a conversation beforehand, and I love that, right? Like the fact that you went from sub, and I just wrote this down, from a submarine to selling in less than a month.
Yeah.
So first off, thank you for your service. I appreciate that. I know that's I'm sure a very stressful position to be in a submarine, but thank you for your service. Greatly appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
So let's jump into the topic of the day and let's talk about how to leverage your brokerage and create additional revenue streams.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something over the past year and a half, I've really started focusing on as I've grown my brokerage to more agent count, transaction. As an agent, when I had a team, I was always doing marketing agreements with lenders, title company, and I just noticed they were always more benefiting me. Buyer's agent stuff, really never got to reap the rewards of it. And as I was growing agent count and kind of got out of production, that still had those marketing agreements in place. And I was like, man, how cool would it be if I can give even a brand new agent a marketing agreement to go and use that for, marketing, just overall cost of it, but by feeding business. So that's when I kind of started getting into the JVs of the mortgage and title to be able to do that. And at first I was kind of selling shares to agents. And then after that, I was like, you know what, this still isn't really helping them as much as giving them marketing money. So I've kind of transitioned into that. And it's a great recruiting tool. And B, it really does help the agents, and it drives production to both revenue streams. So I've kind of been big on opening up in all my franchises, these additional revenue streams for brokers, and to really profit and also make the agents profit, kind of a win-win.
All right. So let's break this down. Let's first and foremost, you've established your brokerage. So if anybody listening right now is at that position, you're looking to add additional revenue. We're talking about how now you're focused on mortgage and title as primarily those two ancillary businesses right now, right?
Yep. Right.
Okay. So take me to the very beginning steps. If I'm somebody who's like, I kind of want to be interested in this, how are you doing this differently? Because you said you're working it to get your agents profit.
Exactly. So again, what kind of went back to the whole marketing agreement, where that really propelled my business once I was able to give a lender enough transactions where it wasn't easy to get these market agreements. They're stingy, and they don't want to get into these contracts with you. And as I was doing that, and we were growing, and I got a production, those market agreements didn't make as much sense. So then I started looking around. Okay, how can I leverage our agents' transactions to grow in a whole nother pretty much business is what they are. And make them profitable. And that's when I started just looking around and got into the JV industry. And I went to the lenders that I was getting marketing agreements with them. And it was, no, sorry, we're not doing that. You got to be doing X amounts. It was just as difficult. So I was like, okay, well, what about going to the mortgage brokerage side of it? And yes, it turns into a little bit more of a P&L, and you really got to run it like a true business. But it was a lot easier than what I thought, especially if you have the transaction count. And if a broker is still producing, it's definitely profitable. But even when you get out of production, by giving these market agreements. So, for example, if an agent does 2 deals with our mortgage, after that, they will continue to get monthly marketing agreements to use for leads, listings, maybe photography, whatever it is. And what that does, man, it really drives them to push to that to continue to get that income.
Okay, so an agent closes, and that I'm going to go back here in a second, but an agent closes those 2 deals. Now they have some revenue coming back from the mortgage company to provide whatever kind of marketing services that they choose. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly right. And it's continuous. It's not just, hey, great job for those deals. It is an ongoing to continue that partnership.
Okay.
It's not just like a one and done, which RESPA laws don't really allow that anyway. But that's how you can do the You gotta be very careful. You can't do it. Same with title. You can't do paper transaction. So that's how we'll set it up with them. And it's just an ongoing. And as they grow, the mortgage and title will grow with them. So it's really up to how much they want to utilize that. Because if you're a new agent, you're doing 2 deals a month, you're not going to be able to go get a marketing agreement. No lender, they're not going to mess with you. And this way we do.
Okay.
And it's retention wise is out of control too.
Yeah. Well, and that was okay. So you mentioned it. I'm going to say RESPA, right? Like that immediately pops to my head because I know several years ago, like that was the thing, like joint ventures and marketing agreements and all these things, like they were under a microscope. Mm-hmm. Can we talk a little bit about that and how y'all have worked through that?
Yeah, absolutely. Being that it is ownership of the brokerage, it's obviously disclosed to buyers, sellers, everybody. But then when it comes to the agent side of it, that marketing agreement has to be for at least 3 months. So if they do a deal and signed it, we set them up on it, they'll have that for 3 months if it goes, it just renews. And then if they leave or whatever, we still have to honor it as far as that goes, unless we give a 30-day notice. So there are guidelines to this. It's not that we created like how the marketing agreement is. All we really did is we created the mortgage company that can provide the marketing agreements now that the brokerage owns and can trickle it down.
All right. So then the brokerage is the one actually starting the mortgage company.
Well, no, I am.
Oh, you are.
So okay. I'll start it. It's really, I call this kind of the hedgehog effect. I don't know if you guys read the book, Good to Great. The brokerage feeds the mortgage title, the agent count. So the brokerage is kind of its standalone, but these other businesses will feed off of it. So the mortgage is a completely different entity. And that's why you could sell shares if you wanted to. You could do whatever you want with it, but it does. It needs the agents and the transactions to really make that steam engine go. So they are separate, complete entities.
All right. So what I just heard you say was the hub has to be in place, which is the brokerage, and it's got to be producing. It's got to get transactions. And at a certain point, when did you go, okay, we're doing enough transactions where it makes sense to open the mortgage company?
And that's a great question. And it took me a while to kind of figure that out myself. Is once you can kind of max out on marketing agreements. One lender might only go up to 10 grand, let's say. And so by having that, if you have an 80 agent brokerage, sure, that's great. But the broker just gets to profit all that from the agents. The second thing is once I kind of stepped out of production and could really see the whole business in a whole, that's when I knew. So I would say once we got to about 60 agents, and we were doing probably about 30 to 40 transactions a month, that it started to make sense. And you kind of maxed out on those marketing agreements.
Okay. So while we're sticking on mortgage, if I'm a broker and I'm like, wow, where do I even begin with this? Where would I start? Like, what's the first step that I would take to begin the process of becoming a mortgage company?
Yeah, it is tough. You got to do some research to see what kind of model, because there's 2 different types of JVs, really. There's more of a hands-off one where you'll partner, let's say a movement mortgage, the Caliber, something like the bigger name, and they'll handle everything. Then you'll have like more of a brokerage setup where you'll go and get the wholesale accounts, You might have 6 or 7 lenders you can push deals to or whatnot. Then you'll set that up as just like a regular mortgage brokerage. You just got an LO, got the licensing, and do it that way. So it really depends on how much a broker wants to be involved. Obviously, the more you're involved with that side, the more lucrative it is than going and kind of having more of a turnkey JV is what I call it. But it just depends on where that broker is and how much they want to put into it.
Okay.
And I've always enjoyed mortgage, even when Trig and all that came out, way back then. I went and got my mortgage license just to learn it all. Like, man, these laws are crazy. So I've always had a thing for mortgage, and I've done both different types of JVs, and really got to see the ins and outs of them. And it's just kind of really up to that broker. But to get started, you got to find the companies that do it, and there's quite a few. It's just how they're set up.
Okay. So do your research is what I'm hearing you say. Research the different companies that are out there that you could potentially go into business with. And then as far as, key staff, like if I were to start and be like, okay, I've got the model, I figured this out. Like if you had to do it again, who would be the first couple of hires that you would make?
And this is what's a misconception is, mortgage, we're thinking about mortgage company. Oh my gosh, you got to have processors, underwriters, all this. Think about when you start a brokerage and it's just you. Right? Okay, you go get an admin, right? Then maybe some buyer's agents. You build that up. That's the same with it. First what we did is we went and found a loan officer that we fit in well with our agents and did that. Then we built it up. Then we got a loan officer assistant that are still processed. Then once you hit a certain volume, then you get an in-house processor, which would be like a transaction coordinator, let's say. It literally runs the exact same model as a brokerage. So when I was saying that brokerage is your main piece, because that's how you can run both of those, that exact same model. You don't have to have a certain way to do it, because LOs can process their own loans. You don't have to go and really hire a transaction coordinator yet. You can wait. And then when you send it to the lender, they're doing underwriting. You're just clearing up conditions and stuff. So a lot of people are like, man, how did you even know where to begin? Well, I did it like my brokerage, really. I just ran it the same way when I started.
Awesome. Okay. And then second piece is putting that marketing agreement in place between the agents that are doing the transactions, doing your research, figuring out what that model is going to look like. And I'm sure you had an attorney draft something up for that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Any other advice or anything like that you would share with anybody that's wanting to take this adventure on the mortgage side?
Yeah, it's really, you got to be all in. That's the only thing with it. If you decide to do this, it's not like a marketing agreement where you could, all right, lender, I'm done with you guys. Y'all made me mad. I'm out. And you really have to make sure that your agents are happy, because if they're not happy with it, your whole concept can go down in flames, because this is like a true business. You got clients that get ticked off at your brokerage, bad reviews, whatnot. So it's like that. But if someone's really wanting to get into this, and it's a big picture, right? You got to really want to grow your brokerage. So, those fundamentals. And I know we were talking before, you were like, hey, what are 4 things that you would tell an agent? And I said, well, I'd tell them this: monthly, pay attention to how many recruits you're bringing on, your agent count, how many new listings you're bringing in. And I say you, the brokers, is bringing in how many under contracts, how many closings. If you watch those 4 key metrics, the mortgage will make sense. You're going to be able to project that, and then kind of know how many transactions you're putting in there, and the profit is way more than marketing agreements can ever be. Yeah. And so that's what you gotta consider. You're running another business. Is it just like, cool, let's try this?
Yeah. All right. Well, so do your research. Explore the different models. If you're going to be doing marketing agreements, get with an attorney, make sure they draft all that stuff up, and then duplicate your process that you started with your brokerage, right? And so now you're opening the mortgage brokerage and starting a new team, basically.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're just joining us and you're just tuning in, we're talking to Charles Benton with First Class Real Estate, and we're talking about how to leverage your brokerage to create additional revenue streams. And specifically, we just finished talking about mortgage. And so I want to transition a little bit, because you're also moving into title as well, correct? Yeah. And now you're in title in 2 different states, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And you've got now multiple locations. One state is attorney driven, right? And the other state is not.
Right.
So you're kind of in both arenas.
It's way more difficult with the attorney states. Yeah, obviously you probably know that too, but it's very similar to the concept. It's just way more regulated as far as, especially going across state lines with stuff. But when you do kind of more of a JV with the title, though, there's so much more on the backside that partnership, they're going to do so much more, where in essence, you're just bringing the business and they're almost doing everything. So it's a little bit different than the mortgage side of it. But, the key to it as well is really driving that production with those agents. And then we still utilize the same concept, though, with the marketing agreements on that. But you can be just a little bit more flexible because you're not having to do as much work. I mean, a lot of brokerages will go do a title JV first because it's easier.
Yeah.
You don't do as much work. But that's just, kind of the start of it.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. I was like, if you had to choose between the two, which would you go for first? Would it be title? Would it be mortgage?
If I was still in production,
Mm-hmm.
probably title, because it's a lot easier
Okay.
to do that. Now, it's not anywhere close as lucrative. So if you're transitioning out of production, then you might want to look more towards the mortgage because you'll have time to build it up. Because we recruit LOs like crazy. Like just this week, I've hired 3. So that's kind of the same concept with the brokerage. We're hiring every month. We're bringing in, same with LOs. We want to grow that so they can go out and get business outside of us.
Mm-hmm.
So now I leverage off the brokerage. Now I'm leveraging the mortgage company to go get other agents from other companies then to bring over. So it's also attracting agents from that.
Okay, this brought up another thought just out of the blue here. All right, so you've started building this mortgage company out. I know we're going back to mortgage here, but it's an important question, I feel. So those loan officers, they're going out there and now they're doing business outside of your original organization. Are they still offering the same marketing agreements, or is that an exclusive thing for people inside your world?
No, we will. It's
Okay.
going to be a little bit different, though. Probably a little bit more transaction before we'll do that. But one thing unique, how we kind of got this going is we would generate leads for the LO to go pass out to another agent, another company. Hey, I got some of these leads. Are you interested in taking them? Well, yeah, I'll take them. All right, great. Boom, they build that relationship. So as they keep giving them leads, the marketing agreement doesn't come up as much. That kind of facilitates it. Now, if they start doing, heavy hitter, yeah, we'll go and do that. But we try to keep it as much because you can get burned going with someone outside of it because, you have to do a contract. You can't just pay per transaction. So it's a risk. But we found with utilizing different lead sources that then the agent's passing it out, it's been huge because I was thinking back in the day, I was like, dang, I wish a loan officer was giving me leads.
Right.
like that. I mean, so that's when we were like, well, what if we set it up that way? So it's really done well. And like I said, it's also spins off us recruiting them to come to First Class.
Okay.
Saying, hey, look, we can get you marketing agreement right now and leads or whatever the case may be. We'll kind of use it to leverage. But that was the whole process of it is kind of like when you recruit an agent, if you provide them leads, you also teach them to go get their own business. It's the exact same concept with these LOs.
Yeah.
They'll come on. We teach them how to go out and attack other agents.
Wow. Well, okay. So a little more with title. Let's talk about the setup as far as that process. Let's move back there. Tell us about that process from like in the very beginning.
Yeah. So it's a little bit easier to get set up because, like I said, that partnership with that attorney, they really have to do everything. They got to go get the insurance with Fidelity, Stewart Title, whoever you kind of set up with. So all that part's done. Then once it's kind of settled, it's really just up to that broker to push that production. And as long as they can do that. So even if they are still producing, it's huge because they can obviously push their deals there. So the only differences is when we talked about attorney, not attorney states. So Florida's a little bit unique because the seller, the listing agent picks the attorney there. It's in the contract or the seller pays it. So you really have to make sure that you're leveraging with some heavy listing agents to push it. Georgia, even though it's attorney state, any agent can kind of pick that. So we got our agents now where they're pushing to have them because they build that relationship. They feel like it's, hey, this is my close turn. I can do this and they'll take care of it and pay it close, whatever it is. So it's an easier thing to kind of get going because you need a good amount of transactions. Don't get me wrong. Typically it's like 6 to 7 deals a month to where it's profitable. And that's where though to really kind of, in mortgage, you can do 2 deals and you're still making good money.
Yeah.
But the title is so much easier to kind of spread out to everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
Cash deals that matter, whatever it is. Refis, boom. You can you still use the title.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I think that gives us an introduction to it. And I think this has been a topic that I've been hearing a lot of lately is how do you create additional revenue streams inside of your brokerage once you're established? And you've done a great job of this because you've come far fast, right? It's been about 2 years that you've really started this journey, correct?
Yeah, sure was.
Okay.
And the most pivotal moment was getting out of production.
Yeah.
That's what kind of allowed me to see the bigger picture and attack it. It's hard to attack things like this when you're producing, running a brokerage, and so forth.
Yeah. Well, I'd love the quote that you said when we were having a conversation. I'm going to pull it up here, and it says, you can have growth or you can have control, but you can't have both.
See, my coach says this to me regularly.
Yeah.
Because I'll be trying to micromanage or something. He's like, man, which one you want? You want growth or you want control? I was like, I want both. He's like, can't have it. So I've really learned to do that. And like I said, getting out of production, giving up that control of all that for the growth it's very difficult. Really getting out of production is probably the hardest thing an agent goes through. And because they're giving up so much. They're all past clients. It goes on and on. But once you kind of grasp that, it's really how far do you want to go? How it is. So I always love that quote because every time I start to micromanage again, I got to check myself and feel good.
Yeah. Well, I love that quote, and it reminds me of the whole quadrant, right? ESBI. And I know I agree with you that moving out of production, we live in that S quadrant for so long and we try to move over to B. And sometimes like once we're in B and we have struggles, it's like, I'll just go back to S. And it's like, no, I got to stay over here.
It is so easy to go back. It's just, it's a challenge, but it's something that has to be done for growth.
Well, all right. So everybody, today we've been talking to Charles Benton with First Class Real Estate, and we've been talking about how to leverage your brokerage to create additional revenue streams. Charles, thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge about this topic and helping start the journey with somebody who's looking to do some kind of ancillary business or joint venture like this. So how can people connect with you?
Yeah, they can hit me up on Facebook, LinkedIn is the best way we'll connect. If you want to go over stuff, absolutely. Trust me, I know the pitfalls and the things to look out for. So I love just trying to explain my experiences and what could work. But I've kind of tried it all and done that. So just hit me up there and we can set up a screen share, call, whatever, and kind of let you know what the things I messed up on.
All right. Sounds good. Learn from somebody else's experience.
Exactly.
So. All right. Well, this is good stuff. Well, I'm going to drop the show note, like in the show notes, I'm going to put some contact information, like your Facebook and everything. So if anybody wants to connect with you, check the show notes and we can go from there. So Charles, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Broker to Broker Real Estate Podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe to the channel. For more information, tools, and resources, go to www.brokertobrokerpodcast.com. And always remember, be you and be real. We'll see you on the next episode.